Are you sensitive to oxalate foods? Keep watching to find out how to reduce your sensitivity. Hi there, if you're new here, my name's Amanda Malachewski. I'm a certified functional nutrition health coach and digestive and allergy detective. For awesome tips and tricks on how to manage and navigate your digestive and allergy challenges, please consider subscribing and be sure to click the bell to be notified when I post a new video every week. My most watched video to date is about oxalates and digestive symptoms. And so today I want to take this video a step further and talk a little bit about what else you can do besides just reducing dietary oxalates if you have an oxalate problem. If you don't know anything yet about dietary oxalates, I encourage you to go back and watch that earlier video called Oxalates and Digestive Symptoms. And by the end of this video, you'll have some additional ideas about how you can manage your symptoms related to this. I found that these oxalate tips are really valuable for my clients who have pain symptoms, especially those in the bladder or kidneys or female digestive organs, sometimes the bowel and gut, and also joint pain. So I've gotten my oxalate-related pain symptoms under control, and I know that you can too, so let's get started. First, let's review what causes oxalate sensitivity. Usually your body can handle your dietary load of oxalate, but certain things can change the terrain such that it can't handle the new load. So the first thing that often can cause some trouble with oxalates is antibiotic use. And this is because we usually have a naturally occurring bacterial species that helps break down oxalates. But of course, when you use antibiotics, it's likely that you wipe them out or significantly reduce their population and reduce your body's ability to process oxalates. Yeast overgrowth or mold is another possibility because yeast and mold both produce oxalates. And so if you're constantly exposed to this problem, you may have an oxalate problem. Fat malabsorption or a sluggish gallbladder can be another cause, and this is because when there's excess fat in the intestine, it can bind to calcium and magnesium, which ordinarily would bind to the oxalate compound and help excrete it. But if there's not enough available because of too much fat in your intestines, because you're not digesting your fats well, this can also lead to an oxalate problem. Deficiency of vitamin B1, B6, magnesium, calcium, zinc, or copper can also lead to an oxalate problem for the same reason, just because these compounds often bind up the oxalate and allow them to be excreted, but if there's not enough, they aren't able to do their job. And remember that vitamin B6 and magnesium are reduced significantly by both the use of birth control pills and a high dietary consumption of sugar. Finally, a leaky gut, whether it's caused by dysbiosis or food sensitivities or other causes, will allow excess oxalates to pass through the digestive wall and enter the bloodstream and then travel elsewhere in the body. So the first obvious low-hanging fruit is to reduce dietary oxalate by consuming a low oxalate diet. I talk through all of this extensively and also give you my oxalate food list in my earlier video called Oxalates and Digestive Symptoms. So be sure and go check that out. I'll leave a link for that video below this video, as well as for the food list. A really important food to avoid in this phase is wheat or gluten foods. And this is because most commercial wheat is GMO and is treated with Roundup or glyphosate as a way to speed up the drying process. And glyphosate acts basically as an antibiotic in the gut. So this may be one reason why a lot of people with non-celiac gluten sensitivity are having a problem with wheat foods. And this applies to any other GMO foods. So in general, you want to avoid GMO foods while you're working on this. But remember, and I talk about this in the other video, you do not want to drastically reduce your oxalate food consumption really quickly. This is because it can lead to something called oxalate dumping, where the stored oxalate in your body is now free to exit your body tissues and start circulating again, but this can cause a lot of pain. So please go watch that earlier video to get instructions on how to do this safely. You are aiming for about 40 to 60 milligrams of oxalate daily on a low oxalate diet. So you want to take some time to get there. And for a really extensive low FODMAP list with really specific amounts of approximate oxalates per serving of food, please go check out the Facebook group called Trying Low Oxalate. I'll leave a link for that below this video. Next, you'll want to work on healing the terrain of your gut. If you have a history of antibiotic use or bacterial, fungal, or parasitic infections, you might consider running a GI map stool test or other stool tests to see what kinds of flora are living in your digestive system that may need addressing. I talk about which tests are great to use in my earlier video called Gut Microbiome Testing for IBS. I'll leave a link for that below this video and you can go check that out. In the meantime, working on general digestive supports is a really great idea. And in this case, it might be a good idea to include probiotics that are helpful for helping break down oxalate. And I'm going to read these to you. It's a little hard to remember these fancy names. So you want to look for a product that contains Lactobacillus gasseri, Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus paracasei, Bifidolactis, Bifidolongum, and Bifidoadolescentis. These have all been shown to help reduce and break down oxalates. A specific probiotic brand that's been shown to be helpful is called VSL number 3. I'll leave a link for that below. You can find it online. And because excess fat in the intestines can lead to an oxalate problem, like I mentioned in the first step, it can be really useful to include either digestive enzymes that include lipase, which would help break the fats down, or ox bile as a supplement. Both of these can help reduce the amount of unbroken down fat that's circulating through the intestine, which leaves more calcium and magnesium available to help bind up oxalates. Additionally, leaky gut supports like L-glutamine, collagen, and bone broth can help improve leaky gut and therefore reduce the amount of oxalate that's passing through the gut wall. One more relief care step you can take is to use a supplement that contains magnesium and calcium citrate. There's a product by the Allergy Research Group that has 100 milligrams of each, and you can take one capsule of this with each of your meals to help bind up the dietary oxalate. I'll leave a link to my dispensary below so you could go check that out if you want. It's also worth including a high-quality B complex that includes a good dose of vitamin B1 and vitamin B6 because these also help with oxalate metabolism, and they also have the added benefit of supporting your liver detox function. Finally, if you suspect that mold might be part of your picture, you certainly won't get too far with your oxalate problem without addressing this. So things to consider are, am I noticing any musty or moldy smells in my home? Is there any visible mold in my home or workplace, certainly, or your school if you're a student? It doesn't take a whole lot of mold exposure to drastically affect the health of people who are sensitive to mold. So this is a much bigger topic that's way larger than the scope of this particular video. But if you need a little bit of support learning more about this, I encourage you to go check out Richie Shoemaker's website called survivingmold.com. I'll leave a link for that below this video. Which tip do you think would be most useful for your particular current oxalate problem? Tell me about it below in the comments. I hope that these tips help you get started on managing and unraveling your oxalate sensitivity challenge and help get you feeling better. If you like how I'm thinking into this problem, I encourage you to download my free guide called Roadmap to Gut Recovery. It's a self-help guide that gives you some tools you can use right away to get started thinking about what you can do to feel better. You can download that free guide by visiting confluencenutrition.com/roadmap, and I'll also leave a link for that below this video. If you've already tried some of these tips and you're not really getting anywhere and you're ready for a little bit more guidance, I encourage you to schedule yourself a free 30-minute assessment session with me where we can get to know each other a little bit and I can troubleshoot or brainstorm with you your next step ideas. And we can also talk about what it would look like to work together. You can schedule this free 30-minute assessment session with me by visiting confluencenutrition.com/contact, and I will also leave a link for that below this video. Until then, best of luck reducing your oxalate sensitivity. I hope this video has helped you out, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.